Hey, welcome to Vortex Garage. Today we're going to be working on this 2001 Ford F250 work truck. Now it might look like it probably has the world's clearest windshield. Well, in fact, it actually has no windshield installed currently. As you can see, around where the windshield frame would be, it looks a little gnarly. That's what we're going to be working on. You see, it's a pretty common issue with these trucks that they develop a leak along the windshield seal. When that happens, you can end up getting rust underneath because of the water that gets under the seal. And that's exactly what happened with this truck. You see, I went to have the windshield replaced because, well, it's been leaking for quite a while. In fact, it leaks so bad, it actually fills the freaking glove box up with water. Anyway, kind of wasn't 100% shocked that when they pulled the windshield out, they found some surface rust and possibly more along the windshield frame here. And you can't reseal a windshield against that. So the company had to stop, and I told them I'd go ahead and take care of it. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to clean up everything in the cowl. We're going to get the old glue off, and we're going to sand all this down, and we're going to determine if it's just basic surface rust that we need to clean up, or if it's worse and something we got to weld new metal in along the pinch weld. Let's keep our fingers crossed that it's something easy. But still, I wanted to go ahead and get this on camera because I know with the excursions and the Super Duties of this era, this is a pretty common issue. And you're going to know if your windshield's leaking because you might start to have some electrical gremlins, like your body control module could go bad because it'll actually get water dripping on it through the dashboard. Remember what I said, our glove box is filling up with water. That's one way I certainly knew that this was a problem. We were plowing snow and I'm going along and I see water dripping on the passenger floorboard. Open the glove box up, darn thing's full of water. So this has obviously been leaking for quite a long time. That's what happens, especially on these work trucks. If you don't use them all the time or you don't pay super close attention to them, you can end up having a leak that gets worse over time. And you can even see we've got rust bubbling up here. I think the one camera zoomed in a little bit and you can see. So anyway, in order to get started, what we're going to do, in case we have to do any welding, and since we're going to be doing grinding, I really don't want to damage the headliner and I don't want to cause any more problems than I have to. So I at least want to drop this down so I can get a welding blanket underneath it and protect it from sparks and heat, and especially if I need to weld. So that should be pretty simple. Pull the visors, pull the hooks in the back, the rear sail panels, pop those off, and then we're going to have to pop these off. Looks like on that handle it's probably got some screws, and this is going to be some push pins. So we're going to release all that, and then that should allow our headliner to drop down. Heck, we could probably even very easily remove it from the truck. Then I'm going to come along, vacuum out our cowl. We'll show you what that looks like. And we'll go ahead and get all the old glue off and get a wire brush and a roll-lock disc, sand it down and see what we got. All right, so like I said, this should be fairly easy. Just got a couple basic tools. We're going to go ahead and pop off our visors, 2 screws on either one, and then of course the visor clip has at least 1 screw in it. And we're just going to want to keep all this together so it goes in pretty simply. Now, this being a work truck, it's got vinyl floors, vinyl seats, and amazingly it's got a pretty plush headliner for a work truck. But still, you can see there's a couple things that have to be pulled off, but it's nice and simple. If you had a truck with a lot more stuff on it, like a console overhead and all that kind of stuff, or a sunroof, who knows what else, it might be a little more complicated. But all in all, it's pretty easy to remove this sort of stuff. Now you might be able to see here, we've already got some mold and stuff growing on our interior. This truck hasn't been here all that long, but it's been leaking probably for years. And well, that's what it's here for. It's here to get taken care of, get fixed up, and stop this nasty stuff from ruining this truck. Because honestly, it's a good truck otherwise. And that's one thing we like to do here at Vortex Garage is save stuff before it gets too bad off. And that's what we're going to do with this truck. We're going to turn it around. It's a little bit nasty, a little bit moldy. It's leaking water. There's a few electrical gremlins that it had from that. It had some squirrels eating stuff inside, and we had to do a little bit of repair work, but got it running good now. Now we're going to get the interior fixed up. Then we'll have a pretty nice work truck. And what shop doesn't need a shop truck, right? I've even already thought about trying to get a more, not a Mora, you know what I mean? I don't even know what I'm saying. I'm just trying to talk to fill the air. But I've kind of been thinking it would be neat to find a junked interior from a King Ranch or something like that was in good shape, and be able to put some fancy stuff in here. But then again, there's something to be said about this vinyl seat and the vinyl floor. All right, so we've got a couple clips here. We got our sail panels to take off. Let's go ahead and pop these caps and see what we got under here. We got some hex head bolts. Looks like they're probably 8mm to maybe 10mm. We've also got these pins right here. So we got our interior tools, and we can go ahead and pop those off. Oh, there's one. There's two. Let's go get a ratchet. As you can see, we're almost ready to drop this down. Now, before I get the ratchet, let me find my screwdriver. Go ahead and pull these out. And then our dome light. There we go. Nice and simple. Now you can see our dome light's not on. I've already gone ahead and disconnected our battery. I'm wondering if we're going to be welding on this thing at all. So I went preemptively and removed the negative terminal on it. I'll probably remove the positive as well. I think you just have to do the negative. You want to be careful with these cars with electronic fuel injection. If you're going to weld through the body, which is where everything grounds to, you can send some of that juice through and damage things. Whoops. So you do got to be careful. Okay, how does this thing work? It looks like it grounds out on these bolts. That's kind of a cool design. All right. That's pretty cool, actually, how this works. It doesn't have a plug-in terminal. I think you can kind of see it through this camera, but it has some metal connectors that these screw into. And then it has a metal strip that carries the current. That is pretty cool, actually. All right, sorry about the delay. Had to find my sockets. So I'm going to try an 8, and I've had to find my 10. Can we agree that the 10mm jokes are getting a little played out? And it's an 8 anyway. But seriously, the I've lost my 10mm things getting a little played out. Don't lose your tools. I mean, I lose all mine, but one nice thing about pulling this stuff off, I'm going to be able to deep clean a lot of this stuff. So there's going to be, off camera, a whole heck of a lot of scrubbing going on, because I want to get all this nasty mold and whatnot that's in this thing gone. Especially before they put the windshield in, I'm going to have access to some of the areas I might not normally have access to. So I'm going to take advantage of that. It's amazing how many cars you see, especially in a non-dry climate. And we've had a lot of rain in the last year. But it's amazing to see just humidity, water getting in the truck. You just get this nasty mold all over everything. All right. There we go, there's one. We can go ahead and pull the one on the driver's side. But in the meantime, we can actually pop this one loose. And we don't have to take it off, we're just going to pop it loose enough that we'll be able to get our headliner on the outside of the thing there. There we go. I have to reach by my camera here. Sorry for blocking it. And no doubt I'll look weird because I've got the wide angle lens on. That's driver's side. So I'm only going to be able to pull these so far because I went ahead and left the seatbelt in there. I'm trying to do this and avoid removing the seatbelt. And I think that I shouldn't have a problem. And look, since there's no windshield, it makes getting the headliner out nice and easy. So we've got our headliner out of the way, and we can really kind of take a look at our roof panel here, make sure everything's looking pretty nice on it. Good thing is that it is. I mean, like I said, this has had a lot of water incursion recently. Interesting thing too, if you look at the A-pillars here, there's kind of this plate right here, and it kind of got me thinking. This is an older truck, very stripped down. It has a passenger and driver's airbag. That's it. It doesn't have any side impact bags, doesn't have side curtain airbags. But if you're working on something newer, or you're working on something that might have that, you got to beware. If you have the side curtain airbags in here, you got to treat it just like you're working on something on the dash. You're going to be working with explosives and whatnot. So you have to be very careful if that's the case. So make sure you know what you're working on. This is an older truck and a stripped down model at that, so it doesn't have that to worry about. All right, so at this rate, we're in pretty good shape. So I'm going to go ahead and start grinding down our windshield frame. We're going to see what we have, and we're going to, well, reconvene and go from there. All right, so obviously we've got our headliner out. We went and vacuumed out some of the junk from our cowl. We're still going to have to clean it out, but I figured I'm going to wait till I make a mess because we're probably going to want to vacuum it again, but I wanted all the leaves and gunk and nasty stuff out of there. So I've gone ahead and taken a welding blanket and covered our dashboard for the time being, and I'm going to start stripping off the old glue, which I really wish they had done when they pulled the windshield. I know they had to stop because of the rust, but they left a lot of this nasty urethane glue. It's kind of a pain to remove, and my cheap little scrapers not really enjoying it. There's probably a way better way to do this. I could get my wire brush out, and I might do that, and I'm going to maybe see how that works. And it'll make a huge mess, no doubt. But I kind of wanted to pull off what I could pull off before I did anything else. All right, we're going to give the wire brush a try, and I'm going to wear my eye protection. Got a full face shield because these little things like to fly off. And the last thing you want to do is get one of those in your eye. Yeah, that ain't working. Well, it works on our rust, but not so much on the urethane. Gonna have to figure out what it takes to remove that properly. So let me figure that out and we'll proceed. So for the time being, I'm just using the utility knife and cutting very slowly along the edge. And then just going back and forth. Get a little further each time. I'm going to cut down the edge. There's a big strip of it off. So it looks like I'm just going to have to do that and do the best that I can. And then I'll come back with a roll-lock disc and just sand this down with a, I've got some Scotch-Brite roll-lock discs I'll try. It looks like I can kind of just keep doing this with the utility knife. Get most of it off actually. So this is working pretty good. So it looks like it's just going to be a little bit of time-consuming effort of shaving this stuff down as much as possible. All right, so as you can see, we've got a lot of the urethane off using a utility knife. There is some remaining leftovers. So I've got a roll-lock disc with a Scotch-Brite pad on it. There's a coarse one. We're going to give that a try. See if we can get the remaining stuff off. Now I do know that sometimes they like to have a little bit of base urethane and adhesion promoter on here to take care of things, but I need to uncover all this and make sure we find all the rusty areas like this. Like what I ground here with the wire brush is just pitted and it's pretty solid, and I'm hoping that's all I find the entire way through, although this spot right here is going to end up becoming a problem as cancer later on. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and hit this up with this roll-lock disc. We're going to see if we can clean off the residual here, make sure we uncover all the rust and get this cleaned up so the windshield can be reinstalled. All right, so my camera's cut out and I'm not sure why. So hopefully we got all this, but let me catch you up on where we are. I've been grinding away a lot of our rust and paint here. And so far, just a lot of pitting. We're gonna keep going and get this as clean as we can to see if we can do this without having to replace any metal. As you can see, I have gone up on the top of the cab a little bit, which is unfortunate because that means I am grinding through some nice paint here, but this was bubbled underneath. There is rust. If I didn't take care of that, it's just gonna spread and get worse. So I need to knock that out. Luckily, it's only about an inch up the top of the cab here. I'll be able to prime and paint this and match it up as best as I can. And hey, eventually I might paint the whole truck. So anyway, I'm gonna continue on and we'll catch up when we've got this all cleaned up. All right, so I'm still gonna do some cleanup here in the cowl, but otherwise I think this is about as good as I'm gonna get it for now. I might rethink that and come and try to do more of the pitting that's in here. But I've got pretty much most of it gone down to bare metal. Now I need to figure out exactly what type of primer, if any, I can actually put on here. So for right now, I'm just gonna leave it as bare metal, leave it here in the shop, maybe put a little WD-40 on it or something that I can get off later with a solvent to keep it from flash rusting. But otherwise we'll kind of keep it as is and do a little research on what we can actually cover it with. Didn't actually need to do any welding. There's no holes. There were a couple deep pits, but I've ground them down pretty good, and I think we're in good shape. This is literally the worst area right here, and on the actual pinch weld, I've got the majority of the pitting gone. There's probably more pitting up on the edge here than there is on the actual pinch weld itself. So I think we're in good shape. Everywhere else, this was completely clean. A little bit of surface rust in the corners here that came off pretty easily. There was a big pocket on the corner there, but got it ground down pretty good. So all in all, I think we're in pretty good shape. So all I'm going to do now is a little bit of cleanup, If we post this video, then we'll catch up with a follow-on video later on, or knowing me, I'll probably have this windshield back in and cut an ending to this video with that. So I'll let you know what we do. And if I do post this before we wrap this video completely up, stay tuned for more on Vortex Garage.